The photograph catches him mid-roar. Small shoulders forward, hands curled like claws. His Spider-Man suit stretched across his ribs as he makes the sound kids make when they want to be bigger than they are. Morning light sits on the veranda boards. A woman's hand, out of frame, is just finishing the click. In the minutes that follow, measured by the ordinary tasks of a house, a kettle set to boil, a rummage for biscuits, a glance at a phone, 3 adults will realize the yard is suddenly quiet. The boy in the superhero suit has vanished. It is Friday, September 12, 2014, in Kendall, a timber town on the New South Wales mid-north coast. The boy is William Tyrrell, 3 years old, visiting his foster grandmother's house on Benaroon Drive with his foster parents and sister. They had arrived the afternoon before. He woke early, chattered through breakfast, and begged to play outside. The house sits at the edge of bushland, the kind of Australian yard that switches from lawn to trees without a fence. Mid-morning, while the adults talk and the kettle hums and a neighbor's mower starts up, William runs from the deck into the garden, roaring to keep his confidence high. His foster mother steps inside to make tea. She hears him once more, the sound rounding the corner of the house. When she steps back outside, he is no longer within sight. The first search is the way all first searches are. Names spoken lightly at first, then louder, a quick check behind the cars, under the deck, at the spot where the garden meets the trees. A call to the neighbor, a jog down the driveway. The same checks a second time in case the eyes missed something. The air smells like cut grass and eucalyptus. A minute is nothing. 5 minutes is a worry. 10 minutes is a decision point. At 10:56 a.m., a 000 call reports a missing child in a Spider-Man suit. Locals begin to arrive before police do. People from nearby houses fan through the bush calling his name. Searchers push through lantana and leaf litter, slap aside spider webs, and peer into culverts where the shadows look like holes. A man comes up the road with his working dog on a lead. Emergency crews pull up and lay out a quick plan. Divide the yard into quadrants, assign couples to garden beds and sheds, keep someone on the drive to catch the boy if he circles back. By early afternoon, the state emergency service is on the ground, then rural fire service trucks, then more police. Maps are unrolled across the bonnet of a car. The grid grows from the house to the street to the scrub that hems the cul-de-sac. Officers knock at doors, ask who has been home and who left, and write down plates for cars seen parked oddly in the morning. The bush takes sound and hands it back wrong. People shout and hear themselves twice. Twigs crack and you think it's footsteps. Searchers mark trees with tape to keep from double-counting ground and to make lanes police can follow after dark. A tracker dog is brought to the yard. It follows a scent from the veranda across the lawn, down the drive, and toward the street, then loses it on bitumen. In the last daylight, a helicopter goes up. Infrared sweeps the tree canopy. Nothing shows that could be a small child's heat. By nightfall, Benaroon Drive has become a base of operations. RFS crews pour tea for strangers. Lines of searchers move slowly through the near bush with torches at knee height, looking for color and pattern rather than faces. A red sleeve, a boot print, a disturbed patch of leaf. Trucks idle to keep radios charged. Officers pull CCTV from town and service stations on the main road. A command post goes up. The town understands what is happening before the news fully reaches Sydney. This is no ordinary hide-and-seek that went too long. The ground does not hold him. In the morning, the search widens. Police formalize Strike Force Roseanne to manage what has already become an enormous canvas. House-to-house inquiries, checks of registered and unregistered sex offenders in the region, interviews with tradesmen and delivery drivers. Neighbors note 2 unfamiliar cars seen on the street that morning, a white station wagon and a gray sedan, parked where locals don't usually park. Officers circulate descriptions and ask again who saw them, who noted a plate, who noticed doors open or closed. Tips start to multiply. Some are precise, most are fog. The next days are a template for how an Australian town looks for a missing child. Crews wade creeks and cut new lines through scrub. Drains are lifted, tanks checked, sheds opened, backyard boats looked into, septic lids pried and replaced. Polair helicopters beat circles over the timber. Mounted police take the steeper gullies. The Red Cross signs in volunteers. Anyone who worked the road that day is interviewed. Families who were away return to find police tape on their gates and consent forms waiting. The absence grows heavier for being measured so carefully and still remaining an absence. The photo of the morning, Spider-Man on the deck, mid-roar, becomes the face of the case. Posters go up with the suit and the date. The picture tells people exactly who to look for and also freezes time in a way the family cannot escape. Anonymous tips arrive by phone and email. Some belong to fantasy. Some are honest error. A few seem sharp and then run out. Strike force detectives chase the best of them to cul-de-sacs in other towns and onto roads where cars with partial plates might go. When you are 3, the world is only places you can reach at 3-year-old speed. The search shows the inverse, how fast a car can end a small radius. Weeks become months. The command post shrinks, and the routines move indoors. Detectives sit across tables from anyone who cannot account for that morning minute by minute. Timelines are written, erased, and written again. Strikeforce Roseanne announces a reward of $1 million, a figure deliberately large enough to pry apart loyalties. The town learns how to live with the question on its doorstep. Birthdays pass with press conferences rather than cake. The house on Benaroon Drive turns into a reference point in reports rather than a home, a line on a map that earns a label before any other. Years pass, and the case follows the rhythms of long investigations, public appeals, private forensics, quiet shifts in theory. The coroner opens an inquest to gather testimony under oath and test what has calcified into received wisdom. Off and on, the inquest sits and pauses. Theories are tested in the bush and in interview rooms. In 2021, police concentrate new search work on dense ground around Kendall and at the grandmother's property, excavating patches of soil and sifting debris trucked to a screening site. Items are sent for analysis. Statements are taken again. Public reporting emphasizes what detectives do not find more than what they do. The boy's image ages in digital progressions on television. The Spider-Man suit does not change. The human facts hold their line across the reports. A child woke happy and played in a yard where adults could hear him. He vanished in a gap small enough to fit inside a kettle's boil. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of hours were spent on ground, in air, and at desks. A nation learned the layout of a street in Kendall the way it had learned other case maps before, by repetition and hope and frustration. The Foster family, bound by laws that limited what could be published about them for years, lived with a level of scrutiny that broke any simple boundary between public and private. Detectives took calls, sifted anonymous bile from genuine leads, and made the choice every investigator learns to hate: which tip to let go so another can be chased. There are details that stick because they are small and verifiable. A neighbor's dash to the street at the first call. The dog that lost scent on the tar. The sound of chopper rotors throwing leaves in a grid. The 2 unfamiliar cars that morning. The exact time the emergency call went through. There are other details that persist because they carry longing, a belief that someone, somewhere, knows and will finally decide to tell. That a reward can buy what conscience hasn't. That a silence can be broken by a sentence. The files grow until they must be indexed as if they were a town on paper. By 2025, No court has delivered the answer the family or the public has wanted. Investigations and inquests have named possibilities and narrowed time windows. They have not made the missing reappear. Standing on the deck again in memory, you can account for everything that is visible: the grain in the boards, the angle of the morning sun, the way a little boy's costume wrinkles at the elbow. What you cannot account for is the step he took that put him on the other side of a line no one saw. The story is often told with a false setting: the fairground, the carnival, the crowded midway, because the mind wants witnesses and edges and noise. The truth is plainer, and therefore harder: a quiet house at the lip of bush, a small yard, a street that feeds a cul-de-sac, and a space of minutes that, once lost, cannot be made whole again, no matter how many people return to walk it. Searchers did the things trained people do, and did them fast. Detectives did the things long cases require, and did them for years. The photograph did what photographs can do and what they cannot. It gave a face, it did not give a path. If you stand at the end of Benaroon Drive and look toward the trees, you understand why so many people still glance that way when they hear his name. The edge of the bush looks like all edges of bush. The street is a street like others. What separates that morning from every morning that came before it in that town is a gap you can only measure by the time since. A family keeps a room prepared for answers that have not been delivered. Officers keep a file open to a page that is still waiting for a final line. A country keeps a photograph in a kind of permanent present, and a boy in a Spider-Man suit keeps roaring into a camera that cannot tell you where he went next. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.